My name is Bryce Richard. I am the author of the book Conquering Our Basics. In this video, we're going to discuss missing records or missing data points, missing data within records more specifically. This is an inherent problem when you're working with data sets because you can't really process or do anything with missing data. Many times it's inherent in a data set, you just don't have the data. And so what we want to do in this video is to at least identify to what extent and how many records have this issue of missing data. Missing data is captured in one of two ways. It's either a missing data point within a record, or it's multiple data points in a record. And in some cases, the record may be almost completely missing with the exception of one or two data points. So we're going to capture this information. There's a data set that we're going to extract to use for this exercise called air quality. So what we're going to do is extract that data set, and again, type in first three characters to actually bring it up. And we left click this button called the data view button, and we'll see this information here. This is the record set. Now, you'll notice that missing data in R is captured by an italicized two-letter code called NA, not applicable or not available is what that means. And anytime that you see that in an R data set, that tells you that that data within that particular field is missing. So what we want to do is identify that. These are not records that are going to be easily prone to data processing. So the first thing we want to do is identify what R refers to as complete cases. So in this example, we're going to use this code is going to add a field at the very end here called COMPL REC for complete records. And what that means is it's going to identify with a flag as true or false whether the entire record is either complete or incomplete. So if there's any missing data relative to any of the data points within the record, one or more, it will say false, and true, like this record, that would say true because all of the data points are known or are identified. So once we type that in, this field has been added, and this gives us an indicator, true or false, for the missing records. Now, to get a better sense of the records that we're dealing with that in fact are missing from this data set, we use this little up and down icon, left click that twice, and that will give us an ascending sort. It will show us how many records are not added by way of missing, how many records have missing data within them. So you'll see here, we've got some missing data points in solar.r, in ozone, and where that is indicated is a false. So this is really good because you can identify these records very quickly. However, there's additional information and additional processing that we can do to further outline and identify what's happening with regard to missing records. So if we type in, we can get the missing results, or what are called NA results, by typing in the table function and then referencing this field. What that does is give us how many records have missing data, which is 42, and how many records are complete cases, which means they have no missing data in any of the data points in the record, 111. So there are a total of 153 records in this data set, and here's the layout. What I like about this is this kind of gives you a sense of where you stand vis-a-vis the missing records within a data set. We can conduct additional data processing with regard to missing records by getting the row sums of how many data points are missing within the record. So for example, we might not only be interested in identifying whether the record has a missing value, but also how many of the data points are considered missing values within the record. So what we're going to do to get that information is we're going to add another field called NA next to the complete record field. And it's going to provide, we're going to add this information by using this function called isNA air quality. So what this line of code is telling us is give us the number, add the number of missing values where they exist and where they are missing, and add that as a numeric field in the data set. So once we do that, the value between 0 and however many missing values is now added. So now we've added more value relative to understanding the missing values within a data set. And if we sort this, we can see that the most missing values in a record is 2. That's important. You might want to go back to the source when you're explaining and going back to the source of the data, for example. You might want to explain to them that here are the missing records, missing values in the records. Do you have this information? It allows you to identify and open a communication with the source of the missing, where the source of this data came from. So here we have 2 records, record item 5 and 27, that have missing values. And then the rest of these are 1. Ozone seems to be a predominantly missing data value field. So we might want to eliminate that from our data analysis if we can't get the values, because there are so many values missing in that field. The last thing we want to do is we want to get the NAs at the data point level. So the way to do this is we're going to convert this data set into true and false values, the entire thing, notwithstanding these 2 fields, to let us know whether there's a missing or a non-missing data in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just adjust this to do fields 1 through 6. And what that's going to do is I'm going to convert this into a data object called X that's represented in the environment window. And if we left click this, this will be open next to the air quality window that gives us true and falses. Now, what this does is a different way to look at the same data. But for example, a true value means that there is a missing, it's missing, and a false value means it's not missing. The importance of this, and if we go back and compare this, you'll see 5 has got missing values in ozone and solar R. And if we go back to 5, you'll see they're missing. So this corresponds to this. I'll conclude on this note, which is the reason you want to create a binary data set is that you could use additional analytics to determine the frequency and the pattern of the true false values. And this will allow us to do some very interesting things at a deeper level relative to missing data. But for now, this is good at just a fundamental level of being able to identify the missing data. My name is Bryce Richard. Thanks for watching.